Alright folks, I said I would videotape the next saddle build, so here we go. This is going to be 3 different videos. The first one is going to be material, equipment that I use to make this particular saddle. I'm going to provide links for what I'm using as far as material goes and kind of describe everything to you. First thing I'm going to say is if you are building a saddle to save money, don't build a saddle. There's a lot of options out there right now, a lot of commercial options that are excellent saddles. The Tethered Phantom comes to mind. That's an awesome saddle. Matt Tompkins over at TX5 makes some really awesome saddles. All of them are affordable. H2 I've heard good things about. I like pretty much all of Arrow Hunter's products. There's just a lot of stuff out there. So if you're doing this to save money or doing this thinking you're going to get ahead, you're not. This is an expensive endeavor. The material doesn't typically come in yards, so you're gonna have a lot of extra material if you do this. If you don't sew other things, or if you're not a big DIYer, you're definitely not going to get ahead. So my first suggestion would be just go find one that you like, talk to some buddies, research online. Saddlehunter.com is a really good resource for a lot of different reviews and different saddle manufacturers. Yeah, just a lot of good information out there on what's available, and yeah, you're definitely going to be in better shape buying one. I'll also say that obviously you're taking some risk making your own saddle. QA QC is shoddy at best when you're making it in your garage on a small machine. If you're not familiar with stitch patterns and you're not paying attention to load bearing rates and things like that, you're taking a lot of risk if you plan on climbing a tree with this thing. If you do decide to make your own, don't climb with it. Use it at ground level. Yeah, just be safe and smart. And again, don't make your own saddle if it's unless you're just a DIYer and you want to try it out. With that said, I'm going to build a saddle and I'm going to videotape it. So this is the saddle that we're going to be emulating. This is the last one I built. I posted it up as kind of the Ninja, I think I called it. Great saddle, very comfortable for me. It's a little bit large for most folks. I'm a big boy, so I make mine a little bit large. On the second video, we will cover how to measure your hips and everything to kind of make one to fit you if you decide to go this route. If you're watching this far, I'm assuming you are, so here we go. I'll cover all the different materials. So I'm going to emulate this saddle, but we're going to make it a flexible saddle or an expandable flat saddle, so there's going to have a 5-inch pleat. I've done it before with the Coyote mesh material. The Coyote's a little bit flimsier than the black, so I added this zipper in here to kind of manage it. I won't need to do that with the black because it's fairly stiff, so it should be a pretty easy deal. The belts and the leg loops on this saddle are not load bearing. I don't think they need to be. I think a lot of the earlier saddles, they weren't load bearing. Some folks were concerned about that, and I think some of the manufacturers listened and actually went with a load bearing setup. I think the Arrow Hunter saddles have always been load bearing belts and leg loops. I don't think they need to be. So for mine, they are not. I haven't found myself in a situation where I was really depending on the belt loop or the leg loops to save my life. The meat of the saddle is the chassis, is the 2-inch webbing, and we'll talk about that. But that's what counts as far as keeping you in the air and off the ground if you decide to do that, which I suggest you don't. All right, so as far as equipment goes and material, I'm going to post a picture either in this video or below with some numbers on it. I'm going to try to follow those numbers so you can follow along and find the links to all the material. Number 1, measuring devices. It's good to have a variety of measuring devices. I like having a clear ruler, but I also like, and kind of a must, is a flexible metal yardstick. That's how I get the curvature to the saddle, and I'll show you how to do that in the second video. There's been a lot of talk about football shaped saddles and curvature, and I haven't really found a saddle yet that has a perfectly straight chassis. I think most of them have a little curvature. Lately it's been more pronounced on this saddle. It's definitely more pronounced. So yeah, find you a metal yardstick. Number 2 is the craft paper. That's what we're going to make the template out of, to cut the mesh material out of. I transfer it to a stiffer piece of cardstock or poster board once I get it cut out. Number 3 is, again, the meat of the saddle, the most important part in my opinion. This is 2-inch polyester seatbelt webbing, 6,000 pound breaking strength. You're going to need about 4 yards of it. I think it comes 3 yards, 3-4 yards. I think it comes in 10-foot rolls, or just depends on how you buy it and where you buy it. Again, I'll have a link down below that corresponds to the numbers on the picture. Number 4 is the 1-inch tubular webbing. I use this extensively through the saddle. I'll use it for the lineman loops, the molly loops. I use it for the bridge. I also use it to reinforce the bridge loops. It gets used quite a bit, and it's got a 4,050 pound breaking strength, I think. Number 5 is the gross grain. This is not load bearing, it's pretty thin webbing. I just use it to trim the edge and kind of give a clean look to the mesh material. Number 6 is going to be your G hooks or J hooks, or whatever you want to call them. Again, Amazon purchase. You're going to have to wait a little while to get these in. I think they come from China. I'm not sure. Not load bearing, just to secure the leg loops. And again, I just use the leg loops and the belt to kind of carry the saddle in, just to kind of manage the saddle when I'm walking in. I do wear it walking in. Number 7 are your tri-glides. I use those just to kind of manage the tag ends of the belt loops. Number 8 is the belt buckle. I do go big on that. It's the ADF Raptor. I just like that buckle. It seems really strong. It's very light aluminum. I think it's load bearing. Let's see here. Take a look. Yeah, 18 kilonewton, I think, in one direction. So that's load bearing. Doesn't need to be, again. I don't care about that, but I just like that buckle, so I go big on that. Number 9 are heavy duty 24-inch zip ties, and what I do with those is I insert those into the lineman loops. Kind of, that's what makes them stiff and kind of stand out, gives them the rigidity. I do not use a lineman's loop. I one stick climb, so I use that just to kind of hang sticks on when I'm climbing or when I'm coming down ropes, just different things that you're going to be carrying up and down. It's big and easy to get a carabiner into. Number 10 is the mesh material itself. Again, the black mesh seems to be a little stiffer than the coyote. The coyote is a little stiffer than the tan. Just depends on where you get it from. I'll provide a link on where I get it from. This particular batch I got from a buddy. So buddy, you know who you are. Thank you very much. This has the it just has the rigidity that I need for the pleat that I'm gonna put in this saddle. You need about a yard of that. Is plenty to do 1 or 2 saddles on. For the 1-inch webbing, you need about 3 yards. Same thing for the gross grain. Now, 2 things that aren't on the table, but I have included them in the list, are the webbing that I'm actually using for the belt loops and the leg loops. That is 1-inch flat nylon webbing. It has a breaking strength of like 800 pounds. I just like it because it's very flexible and light, and it's easy to manage. And the other thing is, if you decide you want to go with an adjustable bridge, that's what I use, are the Darlin or nylon 1/2-inch balls that you basically stick under the webbing and sew different channels into, and that's so that you can adjust the position of your bridge. What I've gone to is I like using the Austria-Alpine tri-glides. If you cinch them down tight, it actually slides up and down the bridge loop easily, but when you put a load on it, the lip on the back actually pinches down and it does not allow it to move, so that makes an adjustable bridge, and that's what I use. Alright, moving on. Number 11, flexible tape. We're going to need that when we get our hip measurements, which I'll show you on the next video. Number 12, good pair of scissors. You need sharp, good scissors because you're going to be doing a lot of cutting. 13 is your sewing machine. So I use just a Singer heavy duty. This is a general over-the-counter. Kind of get it at Joann's, Walmart, Amazon. I think they're like 190 bucks. Plenty strong enough. It's got like an all aluminum frame. It's plenty to do what I'm doing. I'm not building saddles professionally or or selling them commercially, so it's plenty for what I'm doing. If you can afford a Juki or a Conso or something along those lines, you can get some good deals on Marketplace or Craigslist on something like that, and I'll eventually get to something like that, but right now this is working fine for me. Number 14 is the thread. By the way, I'm using size 18 needles in this machine, which you can get on Amazon. I provide a link for. Number 69 thread, 11 pound breaking strength per strand per inch. I triple stitch everything, so it's plenty strong for what I'm doing. And this is a thread stand. It's not necessary. I did list it on there just as something to have because it does help you manage the thread a lot better. So it's a good thing to have. That's number 15 on the list. And that is it for the list of items and what you would need if you decide to build this saddle to sit on the ground with. Next video, we'll be making the template.